May I come in, sir?
आज
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
please have your seat.
Thank you, sir.
So Anmol, how are you doing?
Fine, sir. How are you?
We are good. So introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. My name is Anmol Rathore. I was born in Bhadrava, district Doda. Thereafter, I completed my pre-primary schooling from Kishtwar, and I completed my schooling from GD Goenka Public School, Jammu. Thereafter, I did my BA LLB honors from Gujarat National Law University. I completed my graduation in 2021, and since then, I've been preparing for civil services. This is my first attempt at this examination. My hobbies include reading fiction and non-fiction, writing English poetry, and also journaling.
Very good. So your basically your native is Kishtwar, right?
Sir, it's Bhadrava.
Bhadarwa.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So tell us something about Bhadarwa.
Right, sir. So Bhadrava is also known as the land of Nagas or the Nag Bhumi, and it is also known as the mini valley because it is a picturesque place which is located in Doda district. It has immense tourism potential, and it has also many religious sites such as the Kailash Parvat, the Kailash Lake, and very many fairs and festivals are conducted every year, which add to its tourism and cultural potential.
Tell us some of fairs.
For instance, we have the Mela Pat, which is in respect of Lord Sheshnag. And apart from that, we also have the Kailash festival, which is the Kailash Yatra, which takes place in July and August every year. Apart from that, we also have the fair of Subar Nag. And apart from that, we also have certain other festivals which are being conducted by government. For instance, we had the Askini Bhadra festival very recently. So these are the few that I can
What
think
is
of.
this Askini?
Sir, Askini Bhadra festival was recently
This
conducted.
term Askini.
So I'm not aware of the exact meaning, sorry.
Okay. So how do you describe it geographically? The
Right,
Bhadarwa.
sir. So Bhadra is located at an elevation of 5,300 feet from the sea level, and it is a valley because it is surrounded by various mountains, and it has dry soil topographically speaking. That is why certain crops are grown here. For instance, lavender. It is one of the crops which is being grown in Bhadra recently. Apart from that, it is surrounded by various other districts. For instance, it is surrounded by Chamba of Himachal Pradesh, Kishtwar, Ramban, and also these are a few things that I can remember.
कोई river है वहाँ?
Yes, so there are many small springs and streams, but the main river is the Neeru River, which flows, and it joins Chenab at Doda.
ठीक है, चिनाब नदी के बारे में कुछ बताओ.
Right, sir. Chenab originates in Himachal Pradesh. It originally originates at the Chandra River, and it meets somewhere in Himachal Pradesh. Chandra and Bhaga River, they meet in Himachal Pradesh, and from there they flow as Chandra Bhaga. And thereafter it enters Jammu and Kashmir.
जो इनका एंट्री पॉइंट है, ये कहाँ पे है? चंद्रभागा. ये क्या J&K में है या हिमाचल में?
They meet in Himachal Pradesh. If I remember correctly, it is somewhere in the Great National Park in Himachal, the Great Himalayan National Park in Himachal. Somewhere there, there is a lake there where these two join to form Chandrabhaga. So that is where these two rivers meet.
बताओ उसका पूरा कोर्स बताओ रिवर का, आगे कहाँ से जाता है चिनाब.
Right, so then it enters Jammu and Kashmir. It also flows through Kishtwar and also through different districts of Jammu and Kashmir. In Jammu, it flows through.
Districts बताते चलो कहाँ से आ रहा है.
So I'm not aware exactly, but what I know, basically it flows through Kishtwar district and then it moves to Akhnur in Jammu and Kashmir.
Directly अखनूर पहुँच जाएगा किश्तवाड़ से.
No, sir. It moves through Doda district and then it enters Jammu and Kashmir.
डोडा का है कनेक्शन डायरेक्ट जम्मू कश्मीर? जम्मू कश्मीर क्या?
Jammu.
डोडा का जम्मू से है बाउंड्री?
Sir, I'm not
डोडा
aware.
डिस्ट्रिक्ट की जम्मू डिस्ट्रिक्ट के साथ बाउंड्री है?
Yes, sir.
वहीं से
No, sir. From Doda, it goes to, I guess, Ramban, and then from there it moves through. I'm not aware of the exact course of the river.
बताओ जरा इधर से श्रीनगर जा रहे हैं, रास्ते में कौन-कौन सी डिस्ट्रिक्ट आएगी बाय रोड?
So firstly, we'll have the Udhampur district. Then we have the Ramban district. From there, after we have
कौन सी डिस्ट्रिक्ट में पड़ता है?
Udhampur district.
ठीक है, फिर आगे
Yes, sir. And from there, after Ramban district, I guess we have Kashmir starts. I'm not exactly aware of the districts.
अनंतनाग वगैरह वगैरह कुछ नहीं? टनल्स कौन कौन सी आती हैं जम्मू से श्रीनगर जाने में?
So firstly, we have the Chennai Nashri tunnel, which is also known as Shyam Prasad Mukherjee tunnel. Thereafter, we have the Banihal tunnel, and these are the two tunnels I'm aware of.
कितना डिस्टेंस है जम्मू से कश्मीर का?
Sir, it's close to 300 kilometers.
और आपके इधर का भद्रवा का?
So Bhadrava is close to 250 kilometers.
टाइम कितना लगता है भद्रवा जाने में?
So close to 5 hours.
और कश्मीर जाने में?
So by road it takes 7 to 8 hours, and by air it takes around 50 minutes.
ओके, तो भद्रवा की हमें कोई 3 प्रॉब्लम्स बताइए.
Right, sir. So first problem which Bhadrava is facing is because of the remoteness of the district, and because of the climatic conditions, because of the inclement weather, the infrastructure development has been a great challenge in the district. Second one would be the last mile delivery of welfare policies. This has also been hampered because of lack of infrastructure and lack of road connectivity to certain areas. And third one would be economic issues of the district, because it is majorly agriculture dependent. But since irrigation is an issue there, so because of that, agriculture has also.
What do you think the economic potential is? Where do you think is the economic potential is more? In agriculture field, in services field, or in manufacturing field with respect to Bhadrava?
Right, sir. So Bhadrava's major economic potential definitely lies in agriculture, because close to 80% population of Bhadrava is involved in agricultural practices. And to that end only, I believe that the mission aroma of the government of Jammu and Kashmir, that is
tourism perspective नहीं है.
So tourism is also there. However, tourism hasn't been developed to its full potential. It is very recently that we have started.
When I asked you this कि potential क्या है?
Yes, sir.
तो what does potential mean? जो है
Which
या जो हो?
hasn't been tapped yet.
हाँ, तो उसमें क्या आएगा? Agriculture आएगा कि tourism आएगा?
So it will be both agriculture and tourism. Certainly equally.
Agriculture तो I think already
है.
Many steps we have taken like aroma and all those.
Yes, sir.
है ना?
The second one would be tourism, definitely.
हाँ.
However, tourism is largely untapped potential because it hasn't been developed much. It is only in the recent years that we have started.
कौन सी साइट्स हैं वहाँ पे टूरिज्म साइट्स? यही है जो आपने पहले बताई हैं, उनके अलावा कुछ?
So there are more, certainly in the areas bordering Chamba district. There is Jai Valley. We also have the Jai and Padri Valley. We also have Guldanda and Sarthal. These are all
कुछ important minerals बता सकते हैं जो भद्रवा से मिलते हैं, resources?
Sir, as per the state mineral survey, mine survey, the certain minerals which are found there are firstly mica, gypsum. Apart from that, there is also sand mining. There is potential for sand mining, but due to the course of river Niru, this has been quite difficult.
Sand क्या होता है? Major mineral होता है, minor mineral होता है?
So sand is a minor mineral.
क्या classification होती है to classify a mineral into minor or major? किस base पे classify किया जाता है?
Sir, I'm not exactly aware of the distinction between the two. However, minor minerals are under the jurisdiction of the state governments, and the major minerals like coal and gold, copper, etc., they are all under the jurisdiction of the union government.
ठीक, अभी recently parliament बैठी हुई है.
Yes,
बड़े
sir.
सारे laws जो हैं वो टेबल किए जा रहे हैं, amend किए जा रहे हैं, या पुरानों को हटाया भी जा रहा है. तो बताओ important laws जो अभी वहाँ पे चल रहा है, कौन कौन से laws हैं जो टेबल किए गए हैं with respect to Jammu Kashmir and with respect to complete nation?
Right, sir. Sir, at the national level, certain amendment bills are being passed, the most prominent ones being the Forest Conservation Bill, which will be tabled. Coming to Jammu and Kashmir, there are 3 bills that are being tabled. The first one would be the Constitution Scheduled Tribes Amendment Order, which will seek to add for 3 tribes of Jammu and Kashmir into the Scheduled Tribes list. We also have another one which will add the Valmiki caste to the scheduled castes, and these are the 2 I can remember right now.
OSC में कुछ नहीं है?
Pardon, sir?
OSC.
So OSC, I'm not sure what is OSC.
Have you heard of OSC category?
Sir, I've heard of the OBC category, not the OSC.
Okay, have you heard about this Sani community protesting against this? There's a community, Sani, in Jammu and Kashmir,
Right,
which is
sir.
protesting. They are being given reservation and they are protesting against it. Do you know why?
No, sir, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of.
Okay. Okay. What are like this? Tell me something about this Valmiki community.
Right, sir. Sir, from my knowledge, Valmiki community migrated from Pakistan occupied Kashmir in 1947 to Jammu.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir, some of them certainly migrated from POK to
And
Jammu.
major of them,
Sir,
majority of them,
I'm not aware of the majority of them,
have
but
they have come from POK or they came from Punjab?
sir, few of them came from POK and others had migrated from earlier parts of Pakistan to Jammu. But since they were not the permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir, they hadn't been granted either the permanent residentship nor the rights.
That is fine. Okay. और कौन से bills?
The Scheduled Tribes Bill.
ये तो बता दिया आपने. और
Yes, sir, I'm not aware of other bills.
सेंटर में बताओ.
So at the central level, the Forest Conservation
ये तो
Amendment
बता
Bill.
दिया आपने.
Apart from that, there is
एक
also
बहुत important amendment bill है जो जिसको इन्होंने वापस लिया है, जो कि right to privacy को violate करता था.
right, so the Data Protection Bill. That the Digital Protection of Data Bill will be tabled in the Parliament, if I remember correctly. That is the bill.
DNA वाला सुना था आपने?
Right, so the Criminal Identification and the DNA Bill, yes, sir. But they have been taken back by the government.
अभी दिया है ना उसको, वही
Yes,
मैं
sir.
पूछ रहा हूँ.
So, but from my knowledge, they will be going to a parliamentary standing committee.
स्टैंडिंग कमेटी में जा रहा है या वापस जा रहा है?
So standing committee में जाएगा.
स्टैंडिंग, ठीक है, नो इश्यूज. एक हमारा मॉरल मशरूम है, MOREL, मॉरल मशरूम. डू यू नो कि ट्रेडिशनल उसको क्या बोलते हैं?
No, sir, I'm only aware of the Gucci mushroom.
यही होता है गुच्छी मशरूम.
So Morchella, if I remember.
हाँ वही होगा मेरे ख्याल से.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, हमारे यहाँ अभी रिसेंटली एक ऑफिशियल बटरफ्लाई जो है
Yes, sir.
वो करी गई है फॉर द यूटी ऑफ जम्मू एंड कश्मीर. तो क्या नाम है इसका, इसका साइंटिफिक नेम क्या है?
So it's known as a blue pansy butterfly, but I'm not aware of the scientific name.
ठीक है. रिसेंटली कल परसों हमने न्यूज़ में देखा कि इंडिया हैज़ डिसाइडेड टू बेसिकली जो इसका नॉन बासमती वाला जो राइस है,
Yes, sir.
उसके एक्सपोर्ट्स को अब हम कम कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं, जिससे देखा जा रहा है कि ओवरऑल फूड इन्फ्लेशन आने के चांसेस हैं थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड. तो हाउ डू यू जस्टिफाई दिस स्टेप?
So India has restricted the exports of non-basmati rice to various countries such as the USA and certain European nations, but it is keeping in mind the current scenario of the food security in the country, and also keeping in mind the food and nutritional security, because we require the non-basmati
डोंट
rice.
यू थिंक कि हमारे यहाँ ऑलरेडी FCI के पास एक्स्ट्रा है जो कि सड़ जाता है हर साल, उससे हम अब इथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग कर रहे हैं. फूड हमारे पास जो है, जो सीरियल्स हैं, राइस एंड व्हीट.
Right, sir, but it must be keeping in mind the nutritional requirements and also the requirements under the NFSA that the government is trying to stockpile the
वही मैं
rice.
बोल रहा हूँ कि और बट ओके, हमारे पास जो FCI ने जो स्टॉक पाइल बनाया हुआ है, इज इट द ऑप्टिमम और जितना चाहिए उससे ज़्यादा है? व्हाट इज़ योर स्टैंड? आपको क्या लगता है?
So basically over the years we have seen that most of the food is lost due to wastage in FCI because the storage and the infrastructure capabilities are not optimum. However, that does not mean that the people don't need all of that food. There are certain supply chain issues which stop the supply of these grains to the beneficiaries, and there is an issue in the stockpiling. For instance, there have been issues of incorrect identification of beneficiaries, or leakages, or corruption, or due to having insufficient storage capabilities. For instance, we have seen.
Apart from that, क्या हमारे पास जितना हमें चाहिए उतना सेव्ड है FCI के पास या उससे ज़्यादा है? मेरा सिंपल सा क्वेश्चन यही है. आप जो पूछ रहे हो दोज आर एक्स्ट्रा प्रॉब्लम्स.
राइट सर.
मैं बस ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि जितना हमें अंडर NFSA या बाकी चीज़ों में चाहिए, क्या हमारे पास उतना FCI के पास होता है या जनरली उससे ज़्यादा ही होता है?
So usually उससे ज़्यादा ही होता है, but because of certain other issues वो beneficiaries तक पहुँच नहीं पाता.
ठीक है. नाउ सर विल आस्क यू सम क्वेश्चंस.
ये आपने LLB के सब्जेक्ट्स क्या-क्या लिखे हैं आपने?
So constitutional law, civil procedure code, contracts, public international law, human rights and international humanitarian law.
अबैटमेंट के बारे में सुना?
Right, sir.
अबैटमेंट और कॉमन इंटेंशन में डिफरेंस क्या है?
Sir, abatement is.
किस में है?
So abetment is provided for under section 107 of the Indian Penal Code. Abetment can be by three means. Firstly, instigation by aiding or by conspiracy. Whereas common intention is provided for under section 34 of the IPC, which provides that when a criminal act is done by an offender in furtherance of common intention of all the people of a group, then each member of that group shall be liable for that act as if it were done by him alone. And this is
अबेटमेंट में नहीं उसको फिनिश किया जाता है।
so अबेटमेंट में भी किया जाता है।
डिफरेंस क्या है दोनों में?
So common intention is
ये तो एक लाइन में मुझे डिफरेंस चाहिए, सिंपल एक लाइन।
So between abetment and common intention, abetment is a substantive offense under 107, whereas common intention under section 34, it is a procedural.
प्रेजेंस किसमें मस्ट है दोनों में से?
So presence is must in common intention, section 34.
अच्छा, then proclaimed offender सुना?
Yes.
CRPC में?
Yes, but I'm not aware of the exact definition, but I've heard of it.
सेक्शन क्या है उसकी?
So I'm not aware, sorry.
प्रोसीजर कैसे डिक्लेयर करते हैं proclaimed offender?
Sir,
ये तो जनरल है, कोई भी बता सकता है।
right, sir, but in specific terms of law, I'm not aware, but
जनरल बता।
anybody who has been arrested once for a particular offense and who has been convicted, I guess, he'll be known as proclaimed offender.
It's not necessary that person should be arrested.
So if he is convicted, yes, if the court has directed and he has been previously convicted of an offense.
Conviction जरूरी नहीं है। कोर्ट चाहता है मुझे ट्रायल के लिए प्रेजेंस चाहिए उस बंदे को।
Right, sir.
अगर वो नहीं आता है, then that can be declared as proclaimed offender 30 days का टाइम होता है।
Yes, sir. Sir, I'm not exactly aware. I'm sorry.
मर्डर की सेक्शन क्या है?
Pardon, sir?
मर्डर की सेक्शन क्या है?
So section 300 of IPC provides for murder and 302 for punishment.
Yes, and rape की?
So section 375 of IPC.
375.
Yes, sir.
Vishaka guidelines.
Right, so Vishaka guidelines have been given by the Supreme Court in the 2013 case of Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan, and thereafter the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act was enacted in 2013.
क्या था वो act?
So it provides for prevention of sexual harassment at workplace, and it provides for certain guidelines which need to be followed by organizations in which a minimum number of workers are working. So firstly, there has to be an internal complaints committee in each organization which will take course in case a complaint of sexual harassment is there. And secondly, if it is a grave offense and the internal complaints committee is not taking an action, then in those circumstances, a direct complaint to the police has to be made. And
क्या प्रॉब्लम्स फेस कर रही है इंडिया वुमेन्स में एट वर्क? कुछ जनरल या कुछ और क्या सॉल्यूशंस हैं?
So firstly speaking, in a broader term, the main problem would certainly be that of the glass ceiling, that women are not promoted to positions from where they can hold positions of leadership. However, secondly speaking, legally, the main issue of women is certainly that of their security. For instance, we have seen the case of sexual harassment of women at workplace. There is also another issue of women having to travel late to their workplace. That also exposes them to different security situations.
Does this have solution in that act?
So POSH is only for sexual harassment at workplace or while going to the workplace or coming back from workplace, while it is in the code.
This has solution in that act?
Yes, sir.
क्या solution था उसमें?
Sir, I only know about the internal complaints committee at the workplace and of the police complaint by the complaints committee and the HR.
और क्या problems are?
So, like I told, firstly would be the glass ceiling. The second would be the security issue. Third would be pay parity between women and men, because in many situations we see that women are not paid equally to men. Fourthly, certain organizations still don't provide maternity benefits to women. Even having the directive principles of state policy in place, even then we don't have a procedure for equal pay and maternity benefits for women. Apart from that, another issue would certainly be the patriarchal setup of our society, due to which women are not allowed to work in certain positions. There are certain blue collar jobs which are not considered safe for women, and they also don't try for those jobs. To that end,
do you think that?
Pardon, sir?
मतलब blue collar job सिर्फ जो ये term है,
right, sir,
ठीक है, at present है applicable?
Sir, it is applicable because in certain conditions women cannot work because of the societal setup and also because of their security issues. So that would be another issue facing women. Apart from that, I believe the family pressure and the unpaid labor that women have to do at their homes, that also restricts their job seeking capacity and their capacity to work in a organized setup. These are a few issues. I believe that the gig economy is trying to resolve these issues. So
only gig economy.
so apart from the government's initiatives, for instance, the government has brought out many initiatives to help women entrepreneurship.
Tell me some of those.
So for instance, a reactive one would be the POSH Act itself, because it seeks to provide security. Speaking about Jammu and Kashmir particularly, we have the Tejaswini scheme and also Mission Youth and other schemes which seek to promote women entrepreneurship. Apart from that, we also have the Maternity Benefit Act, which seeks to provide maternity benefits to women. But
कितनी leave मिलती है maternity में?
so it's 12 weeks leave is given to women, both pre and post delivery. So
12 weeks.
So 3 months, yes sir.
बड़ी नहीं है?
नहीं sir.
3 months.
Sir, it is 3 months if I.
बढ़ चुकी है. 6 months, 180 days.
All right sir. I'm sorry.
क्या कुछ टाइम पीरियड है स्टिपुलेटेड कि जहाँ पे जो एम्प्लॉयर है वहाँ पे जो जब जॉब के लिए जाते हैं तो कुछ टाइम पीरियड है जिसके बाद ही ये लीव ली जा सकती है या ऐसा कुछ नहीं?
Sir, I'm not aware of any provision being there in the act, but certain organizations, certain private organizations can have their own rules in this regard.
Can private companies set their own rules with regards? तो फिर तो कोई मतलब ही नहीं ना रहेगा.
Sir, I'm not aware of any time period being in the Maternity Benefit
There
Act.
is.
So is there? Sir, I'll read up on that.
Section 66A of ITA.
Yes sir.
What's the current status here?
So Section 66A has been repealed by the Supreme Court in Shreya Singhal versus Union of India, because it was broad in view and it was very arbitrary, and that is one of the primary reasons it was repealed.
Recently judgment आई है 2022 में.
Yes sir.
Even though कि ये जो repeal हुई थी ये 5-6 साल पहले उसको still पुलिस और मतलब कंप्लेन बुक कर रही थी अंडर सेक्शन 66 से.
Yes sir.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा था now onwards कोई भी ऑल ओवर इंडिया इसको अभी नल एंड वॉइड नहीं किया है, उसको एक तरह का बिठा दिया कि अभी इस ऑनवर्ड्स कोई भी केस इस पे कोई बुक नहीं करेगा, बिकॉज रिपील तो की है बट स्टिल क्या कहते हैं वन मोर इज लॉ कमीशन की रिपोर्ट है, उसको बिठाया गया है कि इस पे दोबारा स्टडी किया जाए. ठीक है. और इसका प्रोसीजर ऑफ अरेस्ट कौन सी सेक्शन में है?
Right sir. So section 41 onwards we have the procedure of arrest. So under section 41 it has been provided who can arrest. It can be a police officer, a magistrate, or anyone from the public. Under section 41 A, B, C, D, certain rights of the arrested person are provided. For instance, if a police officer is going to arrest a person, he has to ensure that his identification badge is on, and thereafter there has to be a memo of arrest which has to be signed by the any person who is in the vicinity while the arrest is being made, and also countersigned by the accused who is being arrested. Apart from that, there are certain rights of the arrested person. For instance, firstly, he has the right to consult any advocate of his choice. He also has the right of silence under Constitution also, and also under the CRPC. And he also has the right of his advocate being present while interrogation of the accused is being going on. Apart from that, during arrest, only proportional force has to be used, and unless the accused is charged with any crime which is punishable with life imprisonment or death, the death can't be caused of the accused while arresting him. So these are a few provisions about arrest.
That's it from us.
अनमोल कैसे हो आप?
Fine, ma'am.
अनमोल मुझे बताओ ये बार और बेंच के बीच में क्या डिफरेंस होता है? Bar and bench.
Right, ma'am. The bar is comprised of the advocates who practice before the court, and the bench is comprised of the judges who constitute the court and who give judgments. The bar is the advocates and bench is the judges.
Okay. Tell me a rule or act जो आपके अपने रीजन या आपकी अपनी जो सोच है उसके साथ कंफ्लिक्ट करता है, आपको लगता है ये लॉ नहीं होना चाहिए, ये एक एक्ट है, ये बहुत गलत है, इसको खत्म करो?
Okay. While I can't think of any act, but there is this judicial doctrine of rarest of rare cases in capital punishment. There are certain cases where I believe that capital punishment should have been given. However, the Supreme Court has applied the rarest of rare doctrine and not given capital punishment even in certain very gruesome crimes. So that is one thing which does not sit right with me, because I haven't been able to identify why certain persons were not given the punishment of capital punishment despite doing certain gruesome crimes. Apart from that, I can't think of any law which does not sit right with me.
Do you think कि कभी-कभी जुडिशरी थोड़ा सा बायस हो जाती है क्योंकि केसेस में जहाँ पे आपको जैसे लग रहा है कि रेयर और केसेस में कहीं पे पनिशमेंट देनी चाहिए थी और नहीं थी?
Ma'am, I will not call it a judicial bias, because judiciary has to be by principle impartial and independent. However, there are a lot of factors at play, because each case is decided on fact to fact basis, and what a particular judge is thinking of at that time, and what is his context and his background, that will certainly determine what sort of punishment is given to a person.
That's what I'm saying. No? When your background is certain, when you have learned something, you have seen something, you live with certain people, there comes a biasness in human beings.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
That's what I'm saying कि कुछ केसेस में पनिशमेंट दे दी गई और कुछ में छोड़ दिया गया, तो कि बहुत सारे ऐसे केस हीनियस क्राइम्स थे जहाँ पे वो डिजर्व करते थे पनिशमेंट, तो आपको लगता है कि जज की बाइसनेस आ जाती है?
It is a very inherent bias which is inherent to all human beings. So I won't call it specifically judge's bias, but it is an inherent bias of human beings which has to be present, because even the Supreme Court has held that a bias in all human beings is there, and it will be in judges also, but it is not a bias which has to be challenged. It is a natural bias.
Okay, in case of legislature and judiciary, who prevails?
Ma'am, it would be the legislature, because in a parliamentary democracy like ours, the parliament is supreme. However, if parliament violates any fundamental right or the basic structure of the constitution, then that law will be held to be violative of the constitution by the Supreme Court or the High Court.
That's the issue ना, सुप्रीम जब भी पार्लियामेंट कुछ बनाती है, ठीक है, कोई लॉ बनाती है, जुडिशरी उसको अपनी मर्जी से कह रही है, ये तो बेसिक डॉक्ट्रिन, क्या बेसिक डॉक्ट्रिन कितनी बड़ी कर दी है हमने ये करते करते, वो तो मतलब इंटरप्रिटेशन हो गई, जिस तरह जजेस चाहे वो इंटरप्रेट कर सकते हैं और उसको बोल देंगे बेसिक डॉक्ट्रिन है, तो उसमें तो फिर इट्स मीन जुडिशरी प्रिवेल कर रही है.
I won't call it that the judiciary is prevailing over the legislature, because many a times, if the parliamentary law is not violating any constitutional provisions, the judiciary has not interfered. We have seen many cases where certain laws were challenged, but the Supreme Court has said that it is a domain of policy, so we will not interfere in these cases. However, there are certain situations where we require an independent judiciary to ensure that our rights are protected and the parliament does not violate our rights, then in those cases certainly judiciary has an upper hand. For instance, we've seen the case of Sabrimala very recently, where the women's right to worship in a temple was given precedence over a temple's customary rights.
So judicial appointment commission जब हमने किया, ठीक है,
Yes,
तो
ma'am.
judicial उसको कहा कि ये नहीं, बिकॉज ये हमारी इंडिपेंडेंस खतरे में आती है, फाइन. तो देखो, आप बहुत सारी कंट्रीज देखेंगे जहाँ पे एक स्पेशल कमीशंस हैं जो जजेस अपॉइंट करते हैं, तो इंडिया में क्या इशू है इस हिसाब से? तो उसमें आप बहुत बार अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं है, फिर इसकी अपॉइंटमेंट में ट्रांसपेरेंसी नहीं है, ये कोलेजियन सिस्टम जो है ये बाइस नहीं है.
Right, ma'am. So we have to firstly see the background why the collegiate system was introduced. The basic background of it was certainly the ADM Jabalpur versus VC Shukla case, because we had seen how the judiciary was influenced by the executive in this case, and the basic fundamental rights of the citizens of India were curtailed very drastically. So that was when it was realized that under no circumstances should judiciary be under the influence of executive, and Article 50 should be implemented in its true spirit. In that background, the collegiate system was thought to be a fit system, because it would also have the voices of the judiciary and also the concurrence of the president. The final decision would be made by the executive. Currently, there have been issues with the collegiate system, and many have have called it as as an opaque system because there is no transparency. Even the Supreme Court itself has said that it is not a 100% perfect system. But as Honorable Mr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has said, that they are trying to bring in more reforms in the collegium system by the time another solution is met. For instance, we have recently seen that on the Supreme Court's website, we have a resolution that is notified. Basically, what the resolution notifies is that the collegium proceedings are notified for the public to see. And in case of any judgment, in case of any transfer or appointment of a judge, they list down the procedure and the discussions which took place between the judges. So that is one step towards transparency, because now we know that if a particular person is being appointed to the bench of a High Court or a Supreme Court, what were the factors which were taken into consideration. For instance, very recently on an 18th July, there was this notification of resolution which held out that if these two people from Madras Bar, they are being appointed as the judges of Madras High Court, there are certain factors which are being taken into consideration for their appointment. Firstly, their judgment. So if one of those advocates had 30 reported judgments to his credit, that was one of the factors that was taken into consideration by the Supreme Court Collegium in appointing that person to the Madras High Court. Apart from that, he was also from a marginalized community. So to ensure representation, that was another reason. So I believe that is a step right in the direction of ensuring transparency. So till the time we have any other law in place, I think this is a decent procedure.
Do you ever had women Chief Justice?
Ma'am, at the Supreme Court level, no, but in Jammu and Kashmir, we had Honorable Mrs. Justice Geeta Mittal. She was the Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir High Court.
Have you heard about Global Gender Gap Report?
Yes, ma'am.
What's India's rank?
Ma'am, I think it is 135 out of 146 countries.
Okay. Do you think any country have achieved gender parity?
Ma'am, certainly not. I don't think any country has achieved full gender parity. However, there are certain countries which are way ahead of India. There are certain Western countries, Nordic countries, which have a greater participation of women. But certainly no country has achieved it fully.
Thank you.
जम्मू कश्मीर के अभी रिसेंट कोई जज हैं जो किसी बाहर की स्टेट में चीफ जस्टिस अपॉइंट हुए हैं?
Right, sir. Justice Dheeraj Singh Thakur, he has been appointed as the Chief Justice. He was earlier a part of the Bombay High Court, but now he's been appointed as the Chief Justice of. So I'm not recalling the name of the High Court. I think it's Madras or Telangana, but I'm not aware which High Court. Kerala High Court. So it is some state in the south, but I can't remember.
Andhra Pradesh.
Yes, sir, Andhra Pradesh High Court.
ठीक, जरूर
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
And